listening to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
I promised last week we didn't get time to talk about the Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns match and the fallout. Now is our time to do that. There could be a fair bit here. So what we saw at the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, Reigns picking up the win, attempting to beat the HE double hockey sticks out of Kevin Owens, and eventually Sami Zayn standing in for his friend, betraying Roman, steel chair to the back, exactly the feeling he felt about 10 years ago. And yeah, let's start there with what's happened on the Royal Rumble night.
That was quite an amazing storytelling. And note, the commentators said not one word for the final 15 minutes. Not one word. They let the workers tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And what a story they told. Throughout the entire match, you had Sami Zayn looking like he was uncomfortable with everything that was going on in the match. And of course, Corey Graves, being the heel of the trio, was stirring the pot the entire time. And then we have the beatdown at the end on Kevin Owens, and Sami tries to save him by saying, "You don't need to do this. This is beneath you." Only to figure out what happens if you tell him that. Okay, it's your job to do it then. And you see him just standing there with it, like, is he actually going to do it? And then the pop when he hits Roman with the chair. The crowd knew what just happened. And the look on Roman's face was priceless, because it definitely looked like the PTSD from the Shield betrayal of Seth Rollins. But yeah, it was a beautifully told story from front to back, that entire match and the entire segment afterwards.
Yeah, because there was so many small, like, nuances around it as well. Like, you could see how each member of the Bloodline reacted in different ways. Some of them were just pure anger, some of them were confusion. In fact, we got one of them just walking off, never to be seen again, or at least not to be found on the SmackDown after.
Yeah, that does bring a lot of questions of what's going to happen with the tag team titles, because on SmackDown, which hasn't happened yet for us, but will have happened by the time this airs, is a tag team title match, which is happening solely because the Usos can't go into Canada because of their DUI history. So that question is, who's going to be defending the titles? Is it going to be Jimmy and Jay? Is there going to be dissension among the brothers? Is Solo Sikoa going to replace Jay? There's a lot of questions to be answered for that tag team title match.
Yeah, and the interesting part again is these tag team titles have been defended for just individual titles, seemingly. You know, the tournament that Braun Strowman and Ricochet won was the SmackDown Tag Team Title Contender Tournament. That's a mouthful. You know, I could almost see them losing this one because he doesn't show up, and then there's pressure on them, but they still have the Raw. And it could be a bit more of a slow degradation. But I don't know. In my heart, I see Solo Sikoa stepping up. If they can't find Jay, I could also see Jay just, not being there all day, and then as soon as the bell is about to ring, he comes out and joins his brother. But, Jay is, to me, the storyline start to finish, even well before Sami came along, well before any of that started. The storyline has been Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. And And even with the Sami stuff coming in, there's still been that Jay stuff in the background, not trusting him, not wanting him to be in it, then being the one who defends him at the trial, and ultimately being the one who just walks out on his family at the end of the Royal Rumble. I think Jay is kind of that central linchpin of the storyline. Sami might be the conduit that we're telling it through right now, but Jay is definitely the main character. Outside of Roman.
That's the thing. I'm not so sure about that.
Okay.
I think they're building to maybe having Jay in Sami's corner for the match at Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Only for Jay to turn on Sami.
Oh.
And that's how we get the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match.
Fair, because at the end of SmackDown, because of everything that had happened here, Sami Zayn came out and had an attack on Roman Reigns and got himself a match at Elimination Chamber for the Unified World Championship. And yeah, I don't know. It's almost bad timing, I guess, in a way, because we look at WrestleMania coming up. We're only a couple months off of that now, or a month off of that. And unfortunately, Cody Rhodes has the shot for the world title. Both the world titles on Reigns right now. Obviously, something can be told there with Reigns not being able to have his bloodline around because they're each being dealt with by somebody else. Be it Owens, be it Zayn, be it Jey Uso if he doesn't turn back to his family. And yeah, I don't know. It just feels like, this is the chapter we're in, and Cody Rhodes is a great next chapter. I just don't know if I'm ready to start reading that chapter yet.
Yeah. I think any other time this would have been the perfect point for Cody to come in. But the stuff that has been happening with Sami and the Bloodline has been so hot and so over that it's one of those things where I wish, and just about everybody else wishes, that we could actually see Sami win the titles.
Mm-hmm. I wish it was like December, Give us more breathing time.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Mick Foley and his couple title reigns before the WrestleMania. If we could have rewound this 3 months, we could have had a brief title reign for Sami, then possibly put the titles back on Roman before eventually handing them off to Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And everything still would have worked out perfectly. We would have had a moment for Sami. Maybe we have shenanigans that result in him being a champion so that we can keep the not pinned or submitted streak alive. But, and then have Cody be the person that finally breaks that streak. But it still would have been nice to have seen Sami Zayn with world titles. I don't see it happening at Elimination Chamber, but WWE has surprised people before. And they could do some sort of wonky with the contract, sign a contract in the next couple weeks for the match, and there'll be a wonky stipulation where Sami wins, that's written into the contract without anybody realizing it, that he can win the title for by a disqualification or a count out. Which might happen, and have it be stipulated that he wins only the Universal title or something like that. And then you still have him hold a title, but you still have the main prize for Cody, the WWE Championship, to win. And you still have the streak to break.
Yeah, it's such a hard one. Just because we do have these parallel storylines, and unfortunately both of them are not really gonna see a great payoff here, unless, we're counting Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens going after the tag team championships, or whatever's left of the tag team championships, as a payoff to the Sami Zayn stuff. As you say, I would have loved to have seen him had a run for these titles for sure. It does feel almost foregone conclusion that Rhodes Reigns is the main event of WrestleMania. We do have 2 titles. We do have chance for bits and pieces and shenanigans in the middle here. We do have Cody only really wanting the WWE Championship. There are avenues to take, but 9 times out of 10 we're going to be taking the shortest road, the quickest path, which is just going to be Sami Zayn taking the loss at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, one of the things that really complicates my feelings on it is that promo Cody and Paul Heyman did on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It, again, I like the idea. I like Cody. I wasn't a big fan of Cody when he left WWE. He's learned to become a big star. And now, necktie and all, he looks and acts like a top guy. And the story that they told in the 10-minute promo makes me want to see Cody go over Roman.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine with it being that's because we've kind of known that was the end game goal.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate it took a 9-month back seat because of the injury.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get a massive pop when that 3 count happens, and then we'll have to see where they can take Cody from there. But we will get at least a big moment, and then the Bloodline will have to take a back seat for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't quite know exactly how every jigsaw puzzle piece is going to fall into place, how they're going to lay out in the end. We think we have a good idea of the main event piece and where those are going, but we still do have time between now and WrestleMania, or even time between now and Elimination Chamber to figure out what we're going to be doing. But this is about roughly halfway through the show, which means I'm going to go into the entrance theme. When we come back, we're going to look at NXT Vengeance Day, a little bit from the NXT afterwards as well. And if we got time, we can look at some other stuff from Raw and SmackDown as well. The entrance theme this week is none other than Jerry Lawler, who this past week unfortunately suffered a bit of a medical event, but appears to be on the recovery road now. So we wish him all the best and hope he can make a full recovery. But we are going to be playing that song for you right about now. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. NXT Vengeance Day. Let's just crack into the first match. North American Championship was on the line. Your boy Wesley going up against my boy Dijak. A little bit of a broken finger in the middle, but not a clean finish
not
either.
Broken.
Sorry.
Not broken.
Dislocated.
Yeah.
It looks just as gnarly, okay?
Yeah. It was a pretty good match. It's one of those things that makes me realize Wesley could be a huge star if he could just find a personality. I like Wesley. I love the stuff Dijak did with Keith Lee. I like the stuff he's done since he's returned to NXT. I would have been fine with him winning the title here. I guess it's not his time yet. Somebody else, but Wesley is a fine champion, phenomenal talent in the ring. Just got to find a character that works for him. Right now, he's just, and we'll talk about him later because he is completely different now. But he's Apollo Crews pre-2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this match obviously pointing out that we still have Tony D'Angelo and his crony sitting in the wings for Dijak and for Lee. We still didn't get that big triple threat we thought we might get. Maybe we are setting up for that. We'll have to wait and see, but those are the guys that are floating around that North American Championship scene right now.
Yeah. Which is fine. It'll make a good match. Any combination of the talent there, I think, will make a good match. And we'll have to see how the story plays out.
You talked about Apollo Crews. Let's go to his match. He was taking on Carmelo Hayes in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and the match ended 2-0 to Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, something that doesn't happen too often in the WWE.
It is pretty rare.
Yeah, this definitely felt like a number one contendership match. And it was a fantastic match. I think these two really brought it. Carmelo Hayes says, Melo don't miss. Melo didn't miss. I'm excited for the future because there's only one place this story can go, and they've already hinted at it. And that is the NXT Championship.
Yeah, before we get to that piece, I do want to mention, I guess, a little bit of the post of this match as well. Apollo Crews' former general, Commander Aziz, as he was known at the time, but Dabba-Kato now coming back down to NXT and just beating up Crews.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when it seemed like not the matter that Apollo Crews ended up still getting swept with him returning to neutralize Trick Williams. Yeah, there wasn't much that could be said. You kind of had the feeling that was coming. And Dabba definitely destroyed Apollo Crews with the idea that that'll be their next opponent feud. This is Dabba's opportunity to at least grab something, because he's a big guy, so his style is always going to be limited. But if he can find something and grasp it and fully own it, he could be a upper mid card guy that could be called on for like a world title match or something. But at the same time, if he doesn't, it's not going to hurt anything, because he'll just be forgotten because he'll be just another big guy. He'll be Omos.
Well, we'll see what Dabba-Kato's future is gonna be. As you said, though, we do know what Carmelo Hayes, or we highly suspect what Carmelo Hayes' future is gonna be. Main event, NXT Championship was on the line. It was Bron Breakker versus Grayson Waller. Steel cage match. You can't win by escape. It had to be pinfall or submission. And despite a low blow, Bron Breakker still coming out on top. A pair of spears to take down Grayson Waller.
Yeah, and the last one was every bit of a main roster spear. It was brutal. I thought this was a fantastic match. Steel cage matches are always going to be limited, especially steel cage matches that don't have interference in them. But I thought they both really brought it. I thought they told a great story. And in the end, the right choice was made, because as much as I love Grayson Waller, it has to be Carmelo Hayes versus Bron Breakker next. That's NXT 2.0, even though that's not called that anymore. That's the money match. Those two have been the top guys in the reboot of NXT. That has to be the WrestleMania equivalent match at Stand and Deliver.
You have been pitching it for a long time. You know, Carmelo Hayes calling himself the A champion. Now he gets to finally show it against Bron Breakker. As you say, I'm sure it is just a formality before that match is made official for Stand and Deliver. Breakker having held the title, minus a little bit of a Dolph Ziggler break for quite a damn while. We keep thinking, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the one? I guess the question is, Carmelo Hayes going to be the one?
Well, he better hit this shot, because this is his time. I do think he does. I do think in the end, when we get to the end of Stand and Deliver, I think he will be the NXT champion. And I think that's where Bron Breakker breaks off from the NXT roster to debut on Raw or SmackDown after.
Alrighty, well, let's go into the tag team division. We had the New Day defending their NXT Tag Team Championships. That sounds so weird to say. Against a bunch of teams, Pretty Deadly, Chase U, and Gallus. Ultimately, though, the British lads, the bigger British lads, given a half of this match were British, came out on top, and we got ourselves some new champs.
Isn't it always Gallus that's like ruins all our plans? Because we were like, when it came to the NXT UK titles, way back when they were being unified with the NXT titles, we thought for sure it was going to go one way. Gallus ends up winning the match. And then eventually losing to Pretty Deadly. And now they've won the titles back when we were expecting a one-on-one match between Pretty Deadly and the New Day at the next event, and that being the moment Pretty Deadly wins the titles. So, yeah, it's just prior for the course, I guess. Gallus just loves to mess plans up.
We can't bet against Gallus.
Yeah. And it does look like, based on what we saw on NXT, that it is going to be Gallus versus Pretty Deadly, who sold really well that they were really depressed about not winning the titles and got their confidence back by beating a very game Chase University, who seems to be doing a storyline with Schism, which can only help the tag team division because Schism is another tag team. And I am really sad because I liked Chase U, and I really thought for a moment they might actually go over in that match, and it also helped me remember just how over Chase U is.
Oh yeah, the crowd loves him.
Yeah, I want to see them eventually get a title reign, but I'm worried about Schism actually breaking them up. Because I could see them maybe stealing your boy Duke away from Chase U. And I think that would be sad because I think Duke has had plenty of stuff that he's done in NXT that was good. But I think the stuff he's doing with Andre Chase is the best he's done in the entirety of NXT. And that includes our To the Moon guy as well. I mean, it's been really, really good. And I'd want to see some sort of payoff for them because I think they're a really good tag team.
Yeah, I think they're like, I don't know if you can define them as a sleeper hit, but like they've been just working away. Andre, Duke, and Thea too as well. Really just building themselves up as tag teams, as female competitors, as male competitors. Really just showing what they can do. As you say, I'd really like them to get that little bit of a showcase, that little bit of something, but we'll have to wait and see what happens when they go head-to-head with Schism. I'll just mention quickly, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance lost the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships to Kiana James and Fallon Henley. We'll see that storyline as it develops further and further. With them seemingly not on the same page, but I do want to make sure we have some time for the women's championship, Roxanne Perez, Gigi Doll, and JC Jane triple threat match, and also what happened on NXT afterwards.
We kind of expected Perez to retain because she just won the title. What would be the point in just yanking it off her 1 month later? Especially with how big of a moment that was. And honestly, it was fine with what they did afterwards. Stuff on NXT. It's a little too on the nose for obviously what they were going for was definitely the Rockers breakup. And I do think that there's going to be a major star for the women that will spring out of this. But it is kind of sad that we lost yet another women's tag team that we could sorely have used on the main roster.
Yeah. Just a reminder, we still have 2 women's tag team championships. And probably about 2 women's tag teams.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but we'll have to see how they develop the characters from here. But they definitely have set up, at the very least, the beginning of a HBK type of run for one of them. Maybe eventually it might spring around to that person facing against Rockaz and Perez later in the year and getting the title. But that's way down the line.
Yeah, the only part for me that I'm a little sad about is that out of the 2, I do prefer Gigi Dolan, the redhead. And unfortunately, she was on the receiving end of the beating at Ding Dong Hello. So we'll have to see who actually comes out of the feud on the top, because obviously these 2 are going to be having matches back and forth, and it's about to get real personal. But yeah, we'll see.
Did she take a beating, or did she try to take a dive through the door?
Don't you start this.
I had for a moment to channel my inner Bobby Heenan. But yeah, it's what it is, and we'll see how it plays out.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is pretty much all we have time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye. You
can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Wrestling R&D Up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/Wrestling R&D Up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/Wrestling RND Up. And we will see you next week.